I'm live at AfricaNXT, the 11th edition, so to speak, and of course, popularly known as Social Media Week. We're here, innovators, policymakers, been going since Monday, having thought-provoking conversations around technology, innovation, governance, and the like. This year's theme is Collaborate, Cooperate, and Innovate. And of course, I'm here to bring you all of the gist that will be going down. Louisa Olani is my name. Welcome to AfricaNXT 2023. Let's go. The Nigeria Communications Commission (NCC) on Thursday highlighted its strides in the country in the digital economy ecosystem. Speaking at the Future Now stage in the just concluded AfricaNXT week-long conference, the NCC team, comprising the Director of Public Affairs, Mr. Reuben Mouka, Head of Spectrum Administration, Engineer Abraham Oshadami, Head Digital Skills and Services, Mrs. Freda Bruce-Bennette, and Mrs. Aderonke Sola-Ogunsola, Head Audit, and Elizabeth Yisa, Head Online Protection, focused on the Commission's mandate and efforts towards the realization of the digital economy agenda of the federal government.
What they call the 8 pillars of digital economy, of the digital economy policy, so that when we are discussing, you will know the perspectives that the panelists are coming from in fulfillment of those 8 pillars, because we mark those 8 pillars and follow up with implementing the processes, the designs, and the activities that surround them. We have developmental regulation which presupposes that there should be an effective regulator for the industry in order to achieve the digital economy policy. Digital literacy skills is one of the key focus of the digital economy policy, because if you don't have the skills to implement and exploit the whatever technologies or services that are available, you will not reach the maximum limit. Solid infrastructure is another baseline of digital policy, and it talks about the infrastructure. How do you implement ICT environment that will deliver to your needs and to your services without having the infrastructure? And that is how you begin to talk about how we lay fiber, how we license organizations to provide mobile services, maybe in the 3G and others. And then the policy also demands that we promote the digital policy, digital services, in order to ensure that people adopt them, people appreciate them, and people exploit them. Soft infrastructure talks about how we build confidence. How do you engage in a particular digital service and you feel protected? You feel that your money will not be lost, your integrity will not be lost, your data will not be lost. How do you trust public entities that provide digital services? And of course, there are many emerging technologies. How do those emerging technologies, begin to advance your course of ICT uses and application? And finally, we have indigenous content development and promotion of establishing the digital economy department. And how has the department gone? How far have they gone in fulfilling the objectives of setting it up? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mouka. Well, the key objectives of setting up the Digital Economy Department, which is just about 2 years old or less, was when the federal government in 2020 brought about the new Nigerian National Broadband Plan. There was a need to grow our broadband connectivity, which is the bedrock of every digital economy. And then when you think about now, okay, you have all the data, you have the connectivity, you have the connections, what next? The next thing that naturally occurs is that you have the digital innovation, you have the entrepreneurship. This is what a gathering like this is all about, where we have our teeming youth who have the desire, the capacity to develop creative innovations and solutions. It is all the outputs that we have from the young ones and this youthful generation that is innovation and creativity. For example, today, out of the 7 unicorns in Africa, Nigeria has 5. Then in the digital entrepreneurship and innovation, what have we done? Currently, we are looking at working with campuses, university students, because, you know, if you do not have innovation, you don't have entrepreneurship, you cannot have digital economy. This is where the crux really of the work is done. And this is where we begin to build the capacities of Nigerians, especially the youth. This is where we work with tech hubs, we work with startups. We have forums where we gather these people. We have the startups who have made it, success stories. And they begin to teach these other Nigerian youth the process, the how-tos on how to achieve this. We bring all the relevant people that you need, the innovation hubs, so they can train our youth. You know, at the same time, we work with students in universities to build their capacities. We work with campuses, we work with NYC students, because if we can develop the entrepreneurship capacities, then we can actually do something great. And for digital skills, I know other people have to speak. It's about ubiquitous training. We train them, the young ones, from the primary school to the secondary schools, to the NYSC students, to the university students, to the women. If we can bring everybody on board, and we are currently working on this. So are we meeting our objectives? Yes. Is there a long way to go? Absolutely. Because it takes a lot, it takes a village to achieve this. And we are currently doing our best. Thank you.
Digital economy cannot exist without infrastructure. And globally, infrastructure is the bedrock, and I'm happy Freda mentioned it, and as part of that triangle, that's very, very apt. Now, I would like to touch on something that helps us to see that as a country, we can take advantage of something where there is nothing. What I mean is, when we compare our economy, our country, to developing or to developed countries, we see that we lack infrastructures. But I must say that technological advancement has made it very easy for us to jump. Many of us will recall that sometimes ago in Nigeria, when we're talking about telephone services, we're nowhere to be found. Basically because everything was on wire, and we don't have that infrastructure. But boom, before you know it, wireless technology made it very easy for us to be able to achieve exactly the same thing or even more that we're not able to do. So from about 500,000 lines, we jumped to where we are today. Recently, you will hear about what is called high-throughput satellite deliveries. This high-throughput satellite gives you that leverage to deploy broadband, high-speed broadband, that ordinarily would not have been possible before now. I'm sure most of us here, a few of us might have started enjoying the SpaceX satellites. This satellite gives you as much as bandwidth that you need to really drive a true digital economy.
Hello, everybody. So I'm going to start off with an icebreaker. With a show of hands, how many of you own or have used a mobile phone before, smartphone or a tablet? Please, just raise your hand if you've used. Fantastic, I see. So don't be shy. How many of you own or have used an Android phone before? So you said all of you. iPhone? Would you use a Ronke phone? If a Ronke phone is launched today, fantastic. So, yes. So fantastic, that's the whole idea. Thank you for your responses. So the Nigerian Communications Commission, in furtherance to these achievements my bosses have discussed already, in providing infrastructure, in ensuring that we have an enabling environment to drive the digital attainment of digital economy. Thought it wise that there was need to establish an office to look inwards, to drive and promote innovation inwards. That's inwards regards to Nigerians. So an office was established, more like a department was established. It's called the Nigerian Office for Developing the Indigenous Telecom Sector. And this office was established July 2021. What is this office meant to do? It's meant to look at 4 things in the telecoms value chain. When we say indigenous, most times when we say local content, Nigerians have a way of frowning at locally made goods. When I did ask how many people use Android, iPhone, our hands were up. When I asked who would use a Aderonke phone, maybe the handsome gentleman there, the dashing lady with the blonde hair did respond, but the response was not cut across. So in order to drive this mandate of we should produce what we eat, and we should eat what we produce, and not only eating, we should be able to export. Recall that Madam Freda did say that out of the 7 unicorns in Africa, 5 are from Nigeria. And also, we thought, how do we do this? In the telecoms value chain, there are different segments. So our focus is on 4 areas. Manufacturing. When we say manufacturing, is it possible for us to manufacture phones in Nigeria instead of us always importing? Instead of us always looking for foreign exchange to go and import phones? If we cannot import phones, is it possible for us to manufacture chargers? Is it possible for us to manufacture batteries? We call it Palasa phones. But those batteries, I see youths around the house. Just think about it. So we also looked at it. Is it possible to manufacture SIM in Nigeria? Before the establishment of NODITS, SIM card was actually imported. So one of the things we did do when we got in was to identify, do we have the capacity to manufacture SIM in Nigeria? Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We did identify that we can manufacture SIM in Nigeria. And a year after NODIT was established, there was a federal policy or statement that importation of whole body SIM has been banned. What do you mean by whole body SIM? You know, when you look at your SIM, you have the plastic, you have the microchip, that thing that is golden. The microchip, yes, we know it's a globally scarce resource, but we can source. But the remaining part of that card, can we manufacture in Nigeria? Yes. And I can tell you that since August last year, the SIM card manufacturers have manufactured over 100 million SIM in Nigeria. What does that mean? It means that there are more jobs, there's more capacity, and Nigeria can actually export SIM to other nations.
So on the part of the Commission, what we do to build confidence, firstly, is to collaborate with other stakeholders. And some of those stakeholders are government, some are civil society, and some are, of course, service providers and law enforcement. So as regards law enforcement, the Commission collaborates with the Office of National Security Advisor to tackle any form of cyber crimes and all, because ONSA is in charge of cybersecurity for the country. So all other stakeholders are expected to work with them to handle any cybersecurity issues. We also collaborate with other platforms, such as the Nigerian Internet Governance Forum, where it's a platform people are able to come and express their views as regards the use of the internet and the challenges they have with security or access. And we collaborate with government again there, and civil society, and also with other stakeholders, as long as you're a user of the internet, to bring forward what issues you have and then who can tackle such issues. And the recommendations are sent to the organization in charge to implement. We also have the establishment of the NCC's Computer Security Incident Response Team, which works directly with Office of National Security Advisors, Computer Emergency Response Team. And they are in charge of monitoring and managing incidents in the country. They are also expected to work alongside other sector CSIRTs, that's the Computer Security Incident Response Teams, to handle any form of incidents in the nation. We also have collaboration with other international organizations such as West Africa Internet Governance Forum, Africa, and also the Global Internet Governance Forum. We also have the ICANN, that's Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, who work hard to ensure that the internet is actually a safer place for everyone to use and everyone can benefit from the use of the internet.
Celebrating its 11th year, AfricaNXT continues to be the premier gathering for Africa-focused innovations. The 2023 theme is Cooperate, Collaborate, Innovate, Unlocking Our Potential, Ensuring Africa's Prosperity. It featured over 200 sessions and experiences that dealt with issues ranging from edtech, music, governance, technology, politics, entrepreneurship, and more.